central Moscow. You're watching RT with me, Anissa Nawe. It's 4 p.m. here in the Russian capital. Our top story. Hopes for a Mideast peace agreement have been dealt a fresh blow, with Hamas announcing it's pulling out from a de facto ceasefire with Israel. The statement follows 2 days of Israeli airstrikes on Gaza that saw more than a dozen killed. Let's cross live now to Tel Aviv, where RT's Paula Clear joins us. Paula, how will this statement by Hamas affect what's already a very volatile situation?
Well, as you say, Hamas says it will no longer adhere to a truce. Now, they say that there's no proof that these attacks, which happened on Thursday, originated from Gaza. In fact, they deny this, despite the fact that Israel insists that Gaza is to blame. Now, the Palestinian President, Mahmoud Abbas, is calling for an emergency United Nations Security Council meeting. He's calling on the international community to denounce and to call on Israel to stop these attacks. The latest figures we have are some 15 Palestinians who have been killed in a round of Israeli airstrikes that have been ongoing since late Thursday. We are also being told that the situation on the ground is intensifying, and there are no indications that the situation will let up anytime soon. Now, as far as the Israeli side goes, they say that Hamas, the Islamic Jihad, and the Popular Resistance Committees that it holds responsible for Thursday's attacks are responsible for some more than 30 Grad and Qassam rockets that have been fired on Israel since Thursday. So what we're witnessing on the ground is a situation that is intensifying and intensifying quickly.
What about the people in Tel Aviv where you are? How are they feeling about this latest announcement from Hamas about the ceasefire?
Well, most Israelis are very afraid that there could be a full-scale war between Israel and Gaza, and in the last conflict there were a number of casualties on both sides. But having said that, it is now more than 4 weeks since Israeli protesters have taken to the streets asking and demanding from the government that it address their socio-economic problems. Organizers of these demonstrations say that this latest wave of violence is not unexpected. They very much anticipated that the Israeli government would use anything to detract attention from their complaints and their concerns. And earlier we spoke to one of the organizers who said that they were sympathizing with the victims of the violence and that they were still planning to go ahead tonight with a candlelight demonstration showing solidarity for those who have been killed. Let's take a listen.
Tonight we're going to march together in silence in order to respect the victims of this conflict. We're very disappointed by the government's reaction that immediately said and tried to use our pain in order to stop this social protest. And we disagree. The social protest is going to continue, and we're going to keep fighting for our rights, and we're going to keep doing it together, and we're not going to allow this conflict to stop us.
Paula, what does this latest flare-up mean, of tensions, I should say, mean for the upcoming UN vote on Palestinian statehood, which of course is expected in less than a month in New York?
Well, Palestinian leadership are basically speaking with one voice, and they're saying that Israel is using this as an excuse to detract attention away from that and to actually try and get international support not to recognize a Palestinian state. Earlier we heard from the Israeli Foreign Minister Avigdor Lieberman, and to quote him, he said that the Palestinian Authority was responsible for Thursday's attacks and for this latest wave of violence, and he said that this proves that any kind of Palestinian talk about peace and wanting to resume the peace process is far from reality. In fact, he said it's as far as Ramallah is from New York. Now, Nabil Shaf and other Palestinian leaders have said that this is madness and that Israel is trying to use this as an excuse to not get that UN vote passed. Having said that, later today the Arab League will be meeting in Cairo to look at the latest violence and what can and should be done.
Paula, what about the violence on the Israeli-Egypt border? That has damaged relations between the two, with protests at the Israeli embassy in Cairo. What are the implications of that?
Well, the latest word we have is that Cairo has decided to recall the head of its diplomatic mission here in Israel. There was earlier talk of the Egyptian ambassador being recalled. Certainly this is the most serious diplomatic situation we've seen between Egypt and Israel for quite some time. You need to remember, of course, Egypt and Jordan are the only countries here who are neighbors of Israel that the Israeli government has diplomatic relations with. If this relationship with Cairo deteriorates, you will have Israel in a very serious situation that most of its neighbors now will technically be at war with the country. In fact, there have been several calls here in Israel itself for Israelis to deal with what is being termed a crisis very, very sensitively. An Israeli defense official also said that the Egyptian peace treaty was, to quote him, fundamental to Israel's existence. So certainly a lot of alarm bells sounding here in Tel Aviv for fear that the current situation could merely deteriorate even further.
All right, RT's Paul Sleer reporting live from Tel Aviv. Thanks for that update. A UN delegation is heading to Syria to assess the situation on the ground.